Robert Gaines, the professional podcaster over here. It's amateur hour. I want you to give me a score between one being the worst pronunciation of your name you've ever heard in your life, or 10, the best pronunciation in your life. And be honest, Sodger
So
Creshi.
more swagger without a W is what I tell people.
Swagger. Sagger. So
And that would hit it to a 10.
that's unreal. I used AI. I asked the internet. I practiced. I called MIT and talked to a linguist. No, I'm just kidding. People often think of California as their, or maybe New York City, but I would say primarily Silicon Valley when they think of AI, when they think of technology. But go ahead.
Boston is definitely a thing there. It's like it's previously biotech, and as like biotechs are like pushing out to the US and whatnot, it's shifting. There's a shift that's happening. There's still biotechs and everything here, but shifting into another hub for that. And yeah, it's definitely a place to be, at least in the East Coast.
Any large city.
Yeah.
And we've talked on the channel about people that wanted to do artistic endeavors. And if you're a musician, let's just say, let's keep it simple and say, if you're a musician, you're going to be in New York, LA. But if you want to be involved in tech, you want to be around, it's easy, a
The
whole lot more
networking
sense.
definitely does help, honestly. Yeah. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
It's
pleasure
like,
to meet you. I'd like to start off with a lot of people when they start their business
hmm,
usually do, or they come up with their business idea because of something they went through.
what I do now is we help make sure employees don't get fired because they don't know how to use AI. So we upskill employees how to use AI, how to increase job security, and so on and so forth. The reason I'm doing this, honestly, is because for my first job, actually, not my first job, for my last job, I was laid off in parts that I was an expensive hire as their CMO. And my boss thought he could do my job with AI and handed it off to my employee. And eventually, that employee got their job handed off to an intern and so on and so forth. But I started this thing because I wanted to make sure that doesn't happen to anyone else. Like, it's not having the skills as like it's an excuse. Learn how to and just teach how to use it so that way at least it's not that wouldn't be the reason given to you.
If you get the skill set
Yeah.
through that training, and I understand you have some different modules. As a matter of fact, I had those pulled up.
Yeah.
So you've got super prompter, but that's separate from the educational
Those
system.
yeah, those are so we are for fish. We teach people how to fish. So it's give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, you teach a man how to fish, you feed him for life. That's the ethos that we're operating with. So we teach people, so we have a ton of free resources. We've been doing this for 3 years, like rounding up 3 years now. But it's like we teach people and then we also can give the fish. So we can build the tools, we can build the automations, we can build the custom AI tools like people need. But what we push for is, hey, this teach you how to do this. So that way increase the security and like and whatnot. And then maybe you would be the person people on your team rely on for AI.
And
Like
who's your perfect? Of course, my generation, we always say, who's your demographic?
so it's and we're pretty industry agnostic, honestly. It's more we tend to work more with people who are like 5 to 10 years experience range. That said, when it comes to like newer hires that are looking at, hey, how do I reach a point in which I can have a same feel like my experience is more than that? It's like how do I use A for that? It's pretty easy, but the biggest issue is knowing if the answer is good or not, and without having the experience to know if it's a good answer or a bad answer, you're in for a bit of risk there. So it's usually between 5 to 10 years of experience.
So if they go through the training, because it seems like to me you're solving a two-part problem. One is the probably a lack of skills. So you're addressing a skills problem through
Yeah.
education. But what about the aspect of somebody could put in the time and gain the skills? How do we convince these employers that, hey, this person still has value. You can't just bring in a chatbot and replace this person. I've talked to so many managers and company owners and people over the course of my whole life trying to convince them to do X, Y, and Z. And I always side on the part of trying to retain people as much as possible. And the times that people
Oh
did that,
yeah, it's a lot cheaper to retain. So in terms of increasing productivity and stuff like that's usually the way that the employees who work with us can show. It's like they're a lot more productive. If they're being assigned to use AI, they can show off more skills to their employers. We don't necessarily work with employers directly. We work with
right,
employees.
that's right.
So we
That's right.
have a more of a bottoms up approach in which
Sure.
if we get 5% of a company, then we'll approach the company itself. But we're not necessarily an employee benefit companies offer, and more employees come to us directly or through word of mouth and whatnot. And then it's, oh,
Sure.
great, we can help you there.
And that was the impression that I got from the website that you're aimed towards the employee. But of course, like I said, they're once they've upskilled through your company, they'll also. And I'm always thinking about. I'm not a good chess player, by the way, but
It's okay.
I try to think like a chess. I try to think, okay, what next? What next? What next?
Yeah.
And once they've upskilled, they need to sell that skill to that current employee
Yes.
because just like we talk about customer retention, we're talking about employee retention. So I just wonder, maybe eventually in your product offering, there'll be some how to communicate your value to your, and
Maybe,
it might
yeah.
already be in there. I wasn't sure. So I just
No,
want,
no, it's fine. Maybe it's for the statistics that we have, we were able to up the percentage of the performance improvement plans by 10%, which is still a pretty low like percentage. It's like pips tend to be what 20%. So we were able to bring it up closer to 30% success rate. But yeah, no, I get what you're talking about, what you're mentioning and what you're talking about. We're just go is like these are skills that you can take for life. AI is definitely here to stay. And whether you're doing this so you can increase your productivity at work or so you can start your own thing, or you like a lot of the companies that we do work with tend to be other AI startups. Yeah, well, we can help you learn how it's like either white labeled our solutions or we can help you be better at AI so then you can take those experiences and then go consult to whatever company you want. So we're here for the education part.
the best phrase that I've ever heard, and somebody way smarter than me came up with it, is they said you only own what you can defend. So
Yeah.
when I look at business, and I didn't realize this until recently, I have a very behaviorist approach towards business. I look at evolutionary psychology. I also look at the animal kingdom. When I'm looking at even a complex business problem, I think, what do the gorillas do? And I know that sounds oversimplified, but economics is really the study of human behavior.
Yeah.
Physics is not that. Physics is completely removed from the human being, but business, psychology, economics, that's all the study of human behavior. So if I know what a human is how they're going to behave in a certain way, and the
Mm.
reason why I say you only own what you can defend
Yeah.
has to do with the nature of the game and the competition and the playing field is constantly changing. And we've seen great companies that were multi-generational that at some point stopped evolving and they
Yeah.
stopped changing with the time and they're gone. There are companies that had been around a century and 10 years ago, they're gone. And if you
Yep.
look at how many of the top Fortune 500 companies 20 years ago still exist today, it's a shocking number that are gone. So if they don't upskill, if people don't evolve, if they don't change with the times, they're swept from the board.
Yeah. No, I 110% agree with that. It's going to be always important. It's like it's a constant evolution. It's constantly working on yourself, constantly learning new skills. And unless you're working on a tech that's not going to be improving anytime soon, and that's going to be your thing, there's always going to be something new.
And that's why you read books all the time, right?
Yeah.
You want to stay on top and you want to stay
Yeah.
ahead. People that are, let's be honest, over 50 or maybe over 60, which 60 was old when I was a kid, and now we've got marathoners doing amazing times at 60. But people at 60, I'll say at 54 because I'll be 55 next year. At 54, I'm less enthused about learning new things. And that really didn't start until about 2 years ago. I was always hungry to learn new things, but particularly technical things. I'm at a stage now where I'm very selective about what I'll take in. And on the channel, I'm very pro outsourcing as well. And I always say if you don't do it very well, if it's not something you do really well, sometimes you need to outsource it, which is great because you, like you said, you offer a white label solution, which for those out there that don't know is you basically pre-packaging something and this company that you work with can just put their
Yes.
name on it and distribute it.
So it's like you mentioned the super prompter tool. That's for, so we took the best practices of the larger companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, and like Google, and we combined it with the best practices we discovered over the past few years when it comes to building prompts. So we built this tool because there's a thing in which people are doing trainings and so on with other companies, and it's what comes there after, and there's an issue with adoption. So we put together this tool so that people who do said trainings can then get their skills up a few notches until they can do it themselves. And then they can just take it and run with it and they can use it for whatever tool they want. It's like, sure, we can do that. And yeah, so there's stuff like that. And there's also the courses that we're doing. It's like we're trying to offer things that other people aren't really doing. How to put in ads in AI.
Yes, that was the part when I read, because you're very active on LinkedIn and so am I. That was the part when you said that I thought, I don't know how that works. I didn't know it was possible. And I was like, I hope he gives us a short explanation of that. And I think people would
Yeah.
benefit from understanding how that works.
Yeah, no, definitely. So in essence, so it's like we know that OpenAI is so wanting to put in ads and is exploring it in different ways. We have Gemini, we have Google that's rolling out ads now in their AI search overviews and whatnot, but Google is a collection of iframes. So it's like it's easier for them to do it. And then I don't know what Anthropic is going to be doing in terms of ads in the future. But on since they're providing the models themselves, there is a limit to how much the models themselves can be changed without degrading the answer. The reason I bring this up is jailbreaks, for instance. So it's like when jailbreaking a tool, like if you look at the bug bounties that are available, jailbreaks aren't really covered because there's always going to be another jailbreak. And
And
there's always going to be
and give us a little technical background on that for the people that are
on
a
jailbreaks
little.
themselves.
Yes, yes.
So it's like in terms of using a tool for something that is not designed to be used for.
Okay.
That
Great
would be
explanation.
that would be a jailbreak. And there's always a way to jailbreak, but you can't defend against all of them without then it's ruining the model's output. So from a provider side, they're struggling at finding out the best solution for that. On the creator side or as a company, we don't necessarily face that issue. We're not on that layer of the onion. We're on the output point. So from there, we can definitely control like what comes out of the model's mouth, so to speak. And then in there, it's easier for us to put in ads than it is for like OpenAI to put in ads themselves.
And that'll be interesting to see. I just posted on LinkedIn, I think yesterday or the day before, about my shock at that announcement that they're going to put in ads. But
Yeah.
I do understand that I do understand now, thanks to you and several other people educating me, that the subscription model alone for OpenAI is not going to cut it. They won't even be anywhere near. It blew me away. I was like, they can't sell subscriptions and be profitable. It's
Honestly, yeah, no, it's honestly, it feels like looking at stuff is there's different branching paths that can be taken. And I was really hoping for one certain branching path, but it's not quite for another. And if they released the GPTs like over a year now. And if they included a creator economy similar to what Google Play or the Apple Store does, then maybe that could have taken the cost. Maybe we wouldn't have reached this point in which in which people can create their own tools and then unlock subscriptions through them, and then they take a portion of the money. If they created a platform like that, then I feel like we wouldn't be here talking about ads in platforms.
That's right. No,
But
you're absolutely
yeah,
right. Something
but
that, and I won't go deep into this topic, I just want to put this out there that in the late 90s, early 2000s, I remember that there was this promise of an open source revolution. I had
mhm.
friends that were using, and I'm gonna draw a blank, but they were using these operating systems that were free,
Linux.
Unix and Linux and all this, and they were a very tiny majority, but they're like, we're gonna take everything's gonna be free. And so I still, I guess because I come from that era, the tool that I use to write my manuscripts is LibreOffice, which is a competitor
I
of
use
Asana.
OpenOffice. I used OpenOffice for
Yes.
years. I know what you're talking about there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I still try to support, and I always donate every time I do it once a year. All these free tools that I use, I always give money. I've got different tools where I can pull transcripts off YouTube videos, which is very useful. But yeah, I'd love to still see. I'm a capitalist. Born and raised in America, so I love capitalism when it's working properly. And I do the how money incentivizes really people giving their absolute best. So I'm very much into that. But I also like that the open source aspect of it too, directly monetizing the creators like they do on Bandcamp. Or so
mhm.
I'm not an artist, but I always end up working with artists. I had a gallery and a studio, and they're
Nice.
always struggling with monetization. So I feel everybody has a role in life, and one of the things that really excites me when I get an opportunity to do it is trying to help an artistic person monetize their art. I'm obsessed with that because I love what they do. I don't know how, I don't have that part of the brain that does those things, but I love to see artists, musicians do very well. And I'll spend a lot of time with them for free so that they can get their art into the
Well,
world.
that's where then tying into what the creators can do themselves. They can put in non-invasive ads. It's limited in what they can or cannot do. I know there's a couple companies that are looking at putting in APIs directly for people who are creating their own AIs, but they don't really touch on like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Gemini as we do, or what we teach. And like what it's limited. You can use it as jailbreak prevention. If someone's trying to use your tool inappropriately, you can say, hey, you can't do this. Unlock to the full version here. Here's a link. You can do it as a sponsor block at the very bottom, and just like, hey, here's this tool is free because of so and so. Check us out here, and like you can do stuff like that, and you can track them like with clicks with something called a UTM, and then those things is if you a UTM would be, for instance, if you use ChatGPT as a source, you can see question mark source ChatGPT. That would be a UTM, which tells if through Google Analytics or something that the source of this link comes from ChatGPT. So you can do UTMs like that to track the ad clicks. And what I've done with friends actually is I set them this up for them so that they can make their own money. They go to a trade show or something as, hey, I made this useful tool. They get some down like users and whatnot. And at the end of the trade show, they approach the organizers and say, hey, I got 300 people that are using my tool almost every day. Would you be interested in advertising to them until next year? And then pay
I
for a
like
sponsor block
that.
like that.
Yes, no, that sounds fantastic. And I actually had a lady who's an expert in trade shows come on the podcast, and we've remained friends. She's Marie Santa Rosa, and a great lady. She's in my writers group. She's working on her book on trade shows. And what's funny about that, just as an aside, that when I booked her on the podcast, I thought, I don't know if people are going to really be interested in trade shows because when you think about trade shows, it's not, oh man, I'm going to get to go to a trade show, unless it's like back home, we're really into fishing. So the boat trade show, people, yeah, they get excited. Believe it or not, her episode was either the second or third most popular of anything I did on my channel. People were
Nice.
so interested in trade. So your idea is brilliant. If somebody's got a product that they already have a specified audience for, yeah, they can
Yeah. They can definitely do this
monetize that.
themselves and monetize it and sell the sponsored ad slot or do it for themselves. Or if they are looking for a job, they can put together a little, do you like this tool? Hire me. So this is definitely something that would open up monetization or just in terms of links for people. And we're not trademarking this. We're just going to leave it open for people as, hey, use it, go, take it, run with it, and we'll see what happens. It's definitely interesting because the larger companies, they don't have anything in their policies. I don't think, I think it'll be cocky of me to say it's like I don't think that they know this is truly possible just yet because we've been doing it for a year now. And then only now as people are saying 2026 or this, and it's like stuff like that.
It's amazing. It makes me think too, because I've invited Kyle Broccoli on the channel and he'll be on very soon. Now, I realize this is not necessarily your wheelhouse, but I wanted you to riff on it for a second.
Mm,
He has a large language model that's basically preloaded into a PC
yeah.
so that people can do testing on site without the results or their privacy or their
Yeah.
data going to the big
Where's my computer?
companies.
I have the same thing.
Oh, you
It's like,
do? Okay. Because I didn't know anything about it. So maybe,
yeah,
you know, if you can, if
open
you,
source.
because he'll come on and he's going to explain, that's his whole purpose is he sells this kind of, I forget what you call it, where it's enclosed and it doesn't communicate to
Yeah,
the
air gapped since like it doesn't
air
talk to the
gapped,
internet
air
and
gapped.
whatnot.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can use like deep. I know there's a whole thing about DeepSeek and people worrying about data being sent to China and whatnot. It's like just cut off the internet connection. It's like there you go. You have the best model. It's running on your computer, and like yeah, I mean that ties into what you were talking about the open source, in which we're talking about that, which will be interesting if you want to talk about more of the bubble.
Sure. I've watched a lot of videos about that, about the chipsets and buying
Yeah,
them and selling them to the same. Do you want to give us a quick, because I'm sure you can explain it way better than
I do have a point of view with that. It's interesting because we've been seeing how much money is being tossed in the U.S. economy towards AI, and like we're talking, there was what was it recently? I think it was here or something. They were talking about how they're not doing like the whole stuff that happened with the airlines with the AI companies, and then I forgot which congressman it was that changed his tune and was like if the AI companies like falter, if something happens to them, the U.S. economy is in shambles. So we got a lot of open source tools coming out outside of the U.S., coming into the U.S. And those open source models are just as good. There's one called Quinn or something like that is just as good as GPT-5.
Oh,
So
that's
those
impressive.
models are good, but they're open source. So it's definitely going to be interesting at the moment that those models become better than the frontier models that we're seeing from Anthropic or
Wow.
Gemini or stuff like that. Then that's going to be a moment of okay, why are we investing in this?
It's strange because I worked in healthcare many years ago, and
Yeah,
people that are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, they talk about, and it seems a little sad, but there's a brighter point to this. They talk about each day seeming like a repeat of the day before, like they've seen everything already.
SSDD.
And
Sorry,
is that what it is? An acronym for the say,
same shit,
oh,
different
same
day.
stuff, different day. Yeah.
Same stuff. Sorry.
I'm finally at a point now where it's very hard to fool me because I've seen versions of this before.
Mm,
And I remember in the 90s, probably, let's just say the early 90s, where, and it was hitting the toy make the media mostly covered it about the toy makers, but it's true for everything. But I
mm.
remember in the 90s, what was happening is we'd have a toy exposition here.
Yeah,
What the Chinese would do is they'd send a lot of people to these toy expositions now, and American toy companies would have up their prototypes, not the stuff ready for sale yet. They were
yeah,
just working on designs. And they said by the time the conference was over in 2 or 3 days, China already had a working model because all these people were doing, they were filming at 360, and then somehow the Chinese had a way. This is pre 3D printing, but they had this high powered CAD where they could replicate that and they could
yeah.
bring the same product to market faster than Hasbro or any of the big toy companies. And they were slaughtering. And now no toys are made in the United States, as far as I know, by the way. And this sounds like the AI, this sounds like the AI version of the story.
Yeah, it's interesting because we shot ourselves in our own foot with this. There was the limitation on the chips and video chips and stuff like that. So in terms of what's coming out there is okay, so we're hit with this limitation, let's improve with what we got. And the stuff that they're improving on is like newer ways to approach tokens and stuff like that, approach language. Then is okay, this is actually much better than what we're doing here. So
How far behind would you say we are in years or terms
I
of?
just I can't say that. I was like, I'm not. I don't know. It's again, it's different paths, different branches. The way
Sure.
that we're focusing on things here is different than what's being focused with more limitations. I was like, maybe we needed the limitations in the beginning here. And it's like innovated differently than it's just more money and more infrastructure and more is like stuff like this. Okay.
I have a hate relationship with regulation.
Mm,
And one of the biggest problems I have with regulation, look, I don't want people taking barrels of oil and putting them in the river. I'm not
yeah.
saying we don't need any, we shouldn't have any regulations. I'm not suggesting that. But I will say that as a technology grows, as anything has evolved over time, I see that the fences go up, the obstacles go up, and it locks out the number of small businesses from when I was a kid to now, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I'm quite sure neither you nor I would do this, but could you imagine opening a retail store in 2025 anywhere in the United States? You're laughing because it's a crazy idea, which
Yeah.
it wasn't a crazy idea 15 or 20 years ago. That was a path to viable wealth and multi-generate. And now it's like, what? Open a store? Are you crazy? Now, why is that? The layers of, I would argue that it's the layers of bureaucracy and laws and regulations. You can't do it. So I feel if we put too many breaks and limitations on AI versus countries that don't have that, like China, they do pour oil straight into to the river. And I'm not saying we should do that over here, but again, if we want to be competitive, we need guardrails, but the more we add
We
to it,
definitely need guardrails when it comes to different kinds of creation. So I know deepfakes was an issue before AI came out,
true.
and now it is a lot worse. We definitely need pointed guardrails in pointing the AI in the proper direction than just free market it completely because I don't know. We're horizontal tech. We don't build new stuff as much as like we're just teaching people how to use their existing tools, honestly. But yeah, that's those are my 2 cents, really.
No, I appreciate the perspective. I've put your website up. It's www.4sh. And can you tell us, because I saw from the website, but can you tell us why you took the I out of fish?
Yeah, so it's for FSH. So we take out the I because like we take out the I and this is the us out of the solutions we provide. And it's a dad joke. Honestly, what's a fish without an eye? It's a fish. So it's like that's there's
That's
no
good. Yeah.
rhyme or reason to it. It's what's a 4 letter domain name? What's a .com? Let's go for that.
Yeah.
This is a dad
Congrats
joke.
on getting
Great.
that. That's brilliant. Because I even wrote in I think I did some supplementary material to the book saying all the good URLs, you have to you have to come up with a
Yeah.
really crazy name to get it. But you've got a short one. Yeah, that's unreal that you were able to get a four character website. But I encourage people to connect with you. You're very active on LinkedIn. You're obviously extremely knowledgeable. It was a pleasure getting educated with all of your expertise.
Yeah.
Are there any
Thank you for having me.
questions you wish I had asked? Anything I left on the table you wanted to make sure that got discussed?
Not really. I don't know. It's like here, as out of curiosity, do you use AI yourself?
Every day.
Okay.
ChatGPT, the paid version, is the biggest. In the last 6 months, I really started to grasp what it was capable of.
No, you're fine. It's like for me, I think the app that I use the most is Perplexity, more so than ChatGPT, because any question, as I use this example for people, is one time the washing machine was stuck and my clothes were locked inside. So I took a picture of the serial code. It's like, hey, how do I unlock this? And it broke it down for me.
Unreal.
And
That's it.
it's great, honestly. It's like I can rely on it on like research and whatnot. But yeah, no, going back to the question, when you're and this is something you can take away for yourself, is do you give it a when you interact with AI, do you give it a role?
Sometimes I do. Yeah, your New York Times critic, look at my work, tell me what you think.
Yes.
That type of
Do you
stuff.
give it an age?
Age, no, I don't.
Okay. So the reason why is I'm taking information out that's in one of the courses and whatnot. So just take it as a freebie. So the reason being is that it's like how an intern approaches a problem or someone with 1 to 2 years of experience. If you're fresh to a job, you do it step by step. This is how I'm going to approach the problem. This is how I'm going to find the solution. If you're in the field for 10, 20 years, like ourselves and whatnot, it's like we tend to skip steps. So by giving it an age, saying you have 2 years of experience as this, it's going to approach it. You're going to change the answer there. It does reduce the hallucinations a bit. So it's like you have 2 years of experience as a critic, then the answer is going to be very different than you say you have 10 years of experience as
I
well.
never thought of it. My God, yeah.
Now you can
Wow.
take it a step further as well. You can give the model itself an age. So that there's your 16-year-olds as Gen Z influencer and whatnot. The language that it's going to be using is as if it was 16 years old. Versus you are 30, so it's like when I'm using it myself, is you are a 30, you're 36, you're a 37-year-old marketer doing this task, then it'll be closer to the language that I would use on top of the experiences and stuff like that. Now, some things I will say is not take this and run with it. Be careful of giving unrealistic ages. So instead of saying you are a 20-year-old sales rep with 10 years of experience, then it's going to hallucinate the answer because you started when you're 10. But at the very least, saying as like you have X years of experience in a field, that is going to shape the answer in a way that not doing it is going to miss out on.
I guess I just really, which is surprising to me, underestimated the capacity because mine has an accent that's very different from
Mm-hmm.
mine. Programmed as close of an accent as because I like British accents. It appeals to me if I'm going to talk to somebody, and I like Australian accents and all that. So
Yeah.
so when we talk, and I've been talking to the chatbot a lot more frequently. I think I can only talk an hour, but yeah, we've had conversations very similar to like yours and mine, and I've uploaded a few of them on the YouTube channel, and people have written to me saying, "Is she a bot?" I'm like, "Yes, I say it up front. I'm not trying to hide it." But I think a lot of people that aren't exposed to AI, I wouldn't call myself an early adopter, but I have both feet planted into
Yeah.
it. And that's why I wanted to talk to you today too, because reading your posts on LinkedIn, and I encourage people to connect with you on LinkedIn and the website that I've put in the chat as well.
Yeah.
I have blind spots, even as much as I use it, that you've got so many things that I have no clue about.
It's no, it's I appreciate it. As I would say that if people create a free account, then they can just peruse and go through almost everything. It's like we are mostly here to teach and so on and so forth. Yeah, no, this is who we are. This is who we are. Then this is where we're planning on being for the near future.
And Sagar, what do you have planned for 2026? Do you have products and services that are going to roll out? Do you have something new up your sleeve? Because I know how you guys are. You're always cooking something new. Can you tease anything that's going to be coming out here soon?
Well, so we have the courses stuff and whatnot. That's something that's relatively new that we've been rolling out, and we're going to just continue doing intermediate and advanced courses for people. I don't know. Beyond that, it's just in terms of solutions, we're going to definitely be approaching more companies themselves and says helping out with their advertising, and more of just training. We're a little bit more aggressive on because yes, before we've been approaching companies and we'll only when we get a certain number of their employees, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
It'll be
we'll see where
exciting.
life takes us.
As you start to turn that corner, we can link back up. We can do a formal pre-recorded, do the hour. We'll edit it down to 40 really high impact minutes, but especially because I know I can just tell from your personality, you're going to be cooking up some great things for 2026. So when you get to that pre-launch point or to that
Sounds
launch
good.
point, get back with me. And I don't have an easy way to drop you out of the call, but I'm going to continue the stream.
All
So
right.
if you want to drop out, but thank you so much. You were so gracious with your time, and I hope you
Yeah,
come
no,
back.
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you so
All right.
much.
I'll talk to you later.
Everybody watching on YouTube, if you want to drop a question in the chat there, I did ask that before. And I've got his website on there as well.